Welcome to Messy Liberation, the podcast that dives deep into feminism, business, and personal growth. I'm Becky Mollenkamp.
And I'm Taina Brown. Get ready for another messy conversation through the eyes of two intersectional feminist coaches.
Let's get messy.
I'm scared because we're going to wing it and that may not be good.
I mean, we always wing it, but we always have a general idea of
This is extra winging it.
This is extra winging it. Like
we were literally like, I don't know.
Nothing.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. You don't know what you're going to talk about. We looked at some trending topics on Threads. None of those seemed to really prompt much. And you were like, let's just go and we're just going to see where this leads. So what's happening in your life?
Well, I have a doctor's appointment today and I'm really fucking tired because I told you yesterday offline, but had a flare up late last week. So haven't been sleeping well. Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about legal substances that can help with that. So that's something to try. Those that I have tried. I was using melatonin only to learn that it's actually far worse than just using THC, just so people know. Like as I did a little research, I was like, oh, that's a little scary. The links between melatonin and heart disease or heart attacks. I was like, I think I might go back to my other gummies for safety's sake. So we talked about that. In my world, we had snow. You did too.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose in my world is that I have two people in my home who both depend on the schools being open in order for them to leave the house during the week and for me to get a little piece of quiet. And they were home the last 2 days because schools were closed for no good reason here in St. Louis. In other parts of the country, I recognize those schools needed to be closed. But I will tell you, on Tuesday, for sure, they did not need to be. On Monday, it was questionable, but like, it's amazing to me how the difference between living in Iowa and Missouri in how people react to snow is wild. Like there you would get feet of snow, not inches, and school would still be going on.
Yeah.
Temperatures would get to 0 and school would still be going on. And here it's like, if it's, below freezing, people start to panic. If there's a dusting of snow, oh God, we better close the schools. And it's really frustrating for me because when they're here, it's hard to focus. So I'm like, and then of course today, which we're recording this on Wednesday, we record on Wednesdays, people. So I know it comes out on Monday, but there's the behind the curtain. And today is a half day. So 2 days of no school. And now I get a half day, which any parent knows means really like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And by the time you do all the, getting there and all that,
might as well not have gone.
Right. I'll have enough time to do this basically. And that's my day. And then, then I finally do have, hopefully, as long as no more weather comes, 2 more full days. But, parents, one thing I'm happy to get on my soapbox about is the lack of communal or community collective support that we have for parents. And it's for all people, because I also think about like the elderly as an example with the snow. We were able to take our snowblower over to my mom's house. She won't want me to say her age, but she's getting up there in age and should not be like shoveling. And she doesn't own a snowblower, shouldn't be pushing a snowblower either. We were able to get over there and clear her driveway for her and her, front porch. But I looked at so many other houses in our neighborhood where there's in other neighborhoods too, where nothing's happening. My husband, Cecil, he did the elderly neighbor on one side. He did another. He's not elderly, but an older gentleman who lives on the other side of us, 2 doors up, who are really a wonderful couple, beautiful people who are retired. They're pretty physically fit, but this was a lot of snow we had here to move. So he did 1, 2, 3 driveways just on our street, and then my mom's, and then we went to go get my son, his friend, to come over and play, who is a single mom with 2 young kids, no snowblower, newly divorced, so doesn't even have a lot of stuff. And he did hers. So what was that, like 5 driveways my husband cleared? And one person, and then he cleared my mom's neighbor, who's an elderly woman who we barely know. And she came out asking how much money he wanted. He's like, no, I'm just helping you out.
Yeah.
But like, it just makes me think of all the people who don't have the equipment, the means to pay someone, the physical ability to do something, and how homebound you are. I just saw somebody on Threads posting about they rent an apartment that's on a 2nd story that has steps to get down.
Oh, God.
Covered in ice, and the landlord said he can't find any sand or any salt to come do anything about it.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've been stranded at home now for like 4 days. I can't leave my home. because it's too dangerous. What do I do? Of course, people were also commenting on the photo, and it looked like the stairs were probably not up to code. So this is probably not a great landlord situation. But again, just it's such a reminder in these moments of like when we have natural disasters or, I mean, snow's not a disaster, but a sizable amount of snow creates real limits for people. And then many of these people have to go to work because they can't afford not to. Businesses aren't closed. Businesses here are like, we know all the schools are closed, but hey, people who have office jobs, who have PTO.
They could work from home or take time off, but coffee shop
gas station,
the gas station,
service workers
even
who we
like
don't
hospitals,
value. Service workers who are making no money. Many hospital workers, not all, who are very much undervalued in their compensation. Like so many people who have to get to work. And then I think if you have any limitations, whether that's age, ability, resourcing, meaning you have to shovel an entire driveway of a foot of snow. I mean, we know how many heart attacks happen. So anyway, all I have to say, like, it just was a reminder for me of like how woefully lacking we are in a collective spirit. And when you show up to do something for people, it's amazing to watch what happens. Like, my mom came out with her damn shovel and I had to literally yell at her, go sit inside and stop. Like, she can't allow people to help. This other older woman's like coming out saying, I guess I have to pay you, like feeling all this guilt that somebody came and did something nice. It's just wild. Like, we aren't accustomed to receiving help, to giving help. And certainly collectively and structurally, there isn't enough. So there's my rant for the day.
Yeah, we got almost 2 feet here, and I mean, the snow came while I had my flare up. Like I remember last season, it snowed not as much as it did over this past weekend. Like maybe last time this year, it wasn't even January. I think it was like March already. But I think maybe we got like 6 or 8 inches, and my wife and I, we both went out there and we shoveled it. But this year I wasn't able to, and Melo's working all day and taking care of me. So she was like trying to shovel, like take breaks and shovel a little bit. And then one of our neighbors, she just had foot surgery. So she couldn't shovel her own. And so she ended up calling some people that she paid to come and do it because she thought they had a snowblower. And they show up and it's like 2 men in their 50s or 60s who shouldn't be out there shoveling anyway, but they're doing it for pay. Like they're doing it.
I get that. And still, again, the fact that they have to reflects another systemic issue of the fact that we don't have any kind of pension system in the US anymore. We don't have meaningful retirement. Social Security, good luck surviving. And I posted about that recently. Like, I'll have to work until I die. My husband, because he's, in the education system, has a pension. He's one of those few people left in the U.S. who actually has a pension, and that we hopefully can guarantee will actually get paid out. That's not going to go bankrupt. It's not a huge amount, but it's enough that he can probably survive with that plus Social Security if Social Security is still around, or get maybe a part-time kind of a gig because he'll be able to retire young enough he could do something else for a while. I don't have a pension, obviously. And as a self-employed person, I've done a lousy job of funding a retirement because I just am trying to fund a life, let alone literally a survival, forget about retirement. And when I posted that about not being able to retire on Threads, the amount of people who were like, yeah, ditto, like I'll never, or I am 70 or I am 80 and I'm still working because I can't afford to retire. Like it is such a problem.
Yeah. They didn't even like do that great. Like we paid them. They didn't even do that great of a job.
Well, because they're 60 years old,
like
right?
Mel said at the when they were like finished, like she went out there and the guy's like leaning over our trash can, like out of breath. And she's like, I felt so bad. Like just let them go. And then she just like cleaned up whatever they weren't able to finish because it was just like, regardless if we paid them or not. We don't want somebody having a heart attack on our, like at all, but definitely not on our property, while we're paying them to do work. And so that just felt
I just looked it up.
wrong.
100 people a year die shoveling snow in the U.S. Now, that's not a huge number compared to a lot of things, but they're completely unnecessary deaths.
That's the thing. It's unnecessary. Right. It doesn't matter what the number is. Like
exactly. It's a completely preventable death. It could be easily prevented, again, with a more collective care sort of approach. I saw a guy drive by with, the front shovel thing on the car that makes like would take a driveway literally to probably take him 5 minutes tops, 3 minutes to do like a normal driveway or a 2-car driveway. 1 car, he could probably do it in 2 swipes, right? And he's just driving by, like, I'm sure because he's like, I got to get paid. And he probably works for, it looked like it was a company. So they're probably having to charge, like, he's got to bill his hours and show his time and all that. But it's so sad because I'm like, he could do the entire neighborhood. And the time it took my husband probably to do a single driveway with a snowblower, and the time it would take, and in half the time it would take one person to do a driveway with a shovel.
Yeah.
And yet we don't think that way because of capitalism. Everything's got to be, commodified and monetized. And it just makes me so sad.
Yeah.
And to be housebound for days just because there's no system in place to help you.
Yeah, we're supposed to get more snow this weekend too.
Are you? God, I hope we're not. I haven't wanted to look.
Yeah. Like the lows this week have been like 4 degrees, 7 degrees.
We're in the
And I know it's colder in other places, but for me, I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we have wind chill like right now. I mean, it's 20 degrees here, but the wind chill puts it like at 10, so it's cold. We have snow next week, potentially. But thankfully, this weekend we don't. However, our lows this weekend are less than like single digits to negatives. So none of this stuff is going to melt on its own.
Yeah.
Which still leaves begs the problem of these people who are still, so many people that go unseen, unnoticed, uncared for in this world, who are sitting alone in their homes trying to figure out, what am I going to eat? How do I make this food last until I can somehow get out of this house? My medications. Like so many of us do, we take for for people who have privilege, I think it's important for us to have these moments where we take some stock of that privilege and to recognize things that I think we often don't even see as privileges.
Yeah.
And one of those is the ability to go before a storm and stock up on food, on medications, to have the money to be able to do that, to have the ride to be able to do that, to have the space to be able to, like, there are privileges involved in all of that. And there are people who didn't have that privilege and couldn't go and stock up on their medications that they need or on their food that they need. Medications, they may not have even been able to get permission to get the to get extras, right?
Yeah.
All of these barriers that are in place that now, potentially 2 weeks into a storm, it could be with, in certain parts of this country.
Yeah.
There are parts of the country because the ice that don't have power on top of them. So they're sitting in the cold. They're freezing and worried about food, worried about medications. It's just, we got to do better at I just ordered a book from the library I'm very excited about called Mutual Aid. I'm going to look up who it's by, but I heard good things about it from online from some person that like curates books that are all like real liberatory books. And so I'm really excited to get that because it's called, hold on. Well, when I find it, I'll let you know. But I'm excited about it because it's a book that is all about like how we create better and more mutual aid for ourselves. And I'm excited to read it because I want to learn more. Like, what else can I be doing? Here it is. It's called Mutual Aid: Building Solidarity During This Crisis and the Next by Dean Spade.
Dean Spade, yeah.
Have you read it?
Yeah, I have it.
Good. Is it good? Is it worth my read?
It is. I've known of Dean Spade's work for a while. When I was finishing up my bachelor's, they came and spoke to, like, I'm on my campus once, and we read some of their stuff also in one of my classes. And so they're very they're very like community collectivist kind of a thinker.
Look at this. So Dean Spade has a podcast called Love in a Fucked Up World, which I'm very excited now to learn about. And I believe I just looked, it looks like Dean uses the pronouns he. It's on his website, it says he. So, okay. And he interviewed Adrienne Marie Brown for his first episode. Have you seen that or listened to it?
No, I haven't listened to it.
I'll try to remember to drop a link in this for people who want to check it out. I haven't listened, so I can't say, but I'm going to listen because your very favorite person, I think, in the world. Besides, the people you love.
I haven't mentioned her in a long time.
I know. So we gotta get that back. So that should be interesting to hear between these two people. And then interestingly, there's another video. So I'm very excited to discover this Dean Spade person that I didn't know. And hey, Dean, come on our show, which says, should social movement work be paid? I'm interested to listen to that. And what is the what is the take on that? So anyway, check out it's deanspade.net if people are interested in learning more about his work. But I'm excited to read that book because I mean, I can't tell you more and more where my head is at with that. I've been hosting, as you know, you came to the first one, you weren't able to come to the last one, but I've been hosting these, what I call secret salons, where it's like invitation only kind of room with really cool people who are doing really cool shit to help them meet each other and for me to be able to stay in relationship. Because one of the hardest things I think about networking or about just meeting people in the world is like you meet cool people and then you're like, I don't have a place for you.
Yeah.
Like, where do I put you so that I can see you more? And so then those relationships fall aside and you're like, oh, I remember meeting that cool person and then we didn't stay in touch. So my hope is this gives me these touch points where I can continue to stay in touch with all these amazing people I meet and for them to get to meet each other, which excites me. But something interesting happened yesterday. Someone on the call said, how at the end of it, when I was wrapping up, we were saying our goodbyes, someone said like, how can we compensate you for this, for organizing this? And I didn't even address it because they put it in the chat. I didn't address it then. And I was like, oh, like, it makes me uncomfortable, right? This idea too. It's like, this is it's part of what I consider a bit of my activism work, like bringing together, helping to create more relationships amongst people who really give a shit in the world and who are trying to make a difference. I think we all need each other. And I do think the bringing together that work of creating space and cultivating relationships is meaningful. And it does feel like a bit of activism in a way. And yet I feel like, who am I to
It is labor.
Right. And there's labor. Oh, believe me, the amount of labor, the spreadsheets. But I also feel like I get joy out of it, which we forget. Like, I get joy out of my work. I still charge for that. So there's all this, I got all these complicated feelings. So I sent an email follow-up to everyone just to say, like, thank you for being there. Here's the ways you guys can connect with each other, whatever. And then I said, someone mentioned, I would never do this. I never do this, but somebody mentioned, so if you want to buy me a croissant instead of buy me a coffee, here's my buy me a croissant fund. And like 3 or 4 people sent me some money and it felt so meaningful of like, yeah, I don't know, that it sort of felt like this like mutual aid of like, I'm creating this space for you. You're all getting to meet each other. You're cultivating these relationships. You had this hour, like those hours always feel really, for most people who come, I think they feel really good because you're like, oh, it's this reminder of that there are these other amazing people out here. And yeah, that is something meaningful. And then there is this like, for those who can, let me circulate something towards you so that you can go and like reward yourself in some way, or for me to pour it back into something else. And I don't know, it's just a really nice reminder. It felt really good.
Yeah. That actually happened to me in FEO.
Did it?
Yeah. Like I don't remember if it was during one of the calls or just like in Slack when something happened and I ended up in a situation where I was like having to do this like extra emotional labor for a white woman in the group. And someone privately messaged me and was like, you shouldn't have had to do that, but here's like $50 or something.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So it was, again, I don't even remember the circumstance that like triggered it, but I remember that moment. And it was like, it felt like being seen, like being validated.
Yeah.
And so, and again, like I chose to be in that space. I chose to engage with that person, to do that labor, right? And so, because I was committed to the community, to like, to be there. And because there were plenty of times where it was similar situations, but I was like, I'm not touching that. I don't have it in me, or I just don't want to, or this person, like this is a pattern with this person, so I'm not touching it. And so, but in this case, it felt like worth it in that moment to like do that labor with that person. And so had to have someone on the outside see that and then just be like, hey, that was extra. And so here's a little bit of like compensation, something, like, and I think, in those moments, it's like, whether they had sent me any money at all, them even just pointing it out.
Right. Even the recognition would have gone a long way. Or $5. I mean, the $50 is great, but it was more about the gesture and the acknowledgement.
Yeah. Or even if they had said, hey, that was extra emotional labor. Is there a nonprofit or an organization that I can contribute to in your name? Or, like even that would have been like, again, it's not about like the actual money. It's about the intent behind the whether it's money or just a recognition or a validation or something.
Can
that
I ask
really
you a
matters.
question about that I think could be something that sits in the mind of, particularly in this, I'm going to guess it was a white person that did that, or no? Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, it wasn't. Oh, interesting. Okay, maybe that also then removes the dynamic that I think can happen. Because I'm curious what you think about if, as a white person who sees that happening, right, and it can acknowledge the extra labor, I think we might even want to acknowledge it, and maybe we do acknowledge it. But that extra step of then like stepping in to say, I'm sending you something. Where's that line? Because I think this can come up for white women. Where's the line between that being great and this like recognition, the validation, the seeing versus like white saviorism of like, oh, I'm going to come in and I'm going to rescue you, or I'm going to provide you with the money. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how I think that can be hard for white folks in particular when it's a dynamic like that. Like if it's a white person with another white person, totally feels different, right? But if it's a white person with either a Black woman or another person of color, where you're like, do I do that? Do I say something? Do I do something? Or am I going to now sort of like centering myself in this, or am I now like showing up as the savior? What kind of advice do you give for people who are seeing that? Because I hear that story and I'm like, I love that and I want to do more of that. I want to be more mindful of it. I also wouldn't want someone to then turn around and presume, are you assuming I need money, or are you trying to show up and say that you're like caring, you're tending to my need, you're caring for me, like you're the savior here? I can hear some of that. And so curious what your thoughts are on navigating that.
Yeah. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. Like,
I'm sure there's not, but
it changes, it fluctuates based on the nature of your relationship with the person, based on the circumstance itself, right? Based on who else was in the room when it happened. And so I think in that situation, like, I think if you are a white person and you're like, I want to do more of that, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be crossing the line, I think that's just a risk you have to take. Because really, what is crossing the line going to cost you?
Not much, right? At minimum, you're going to get a call in. If you get somebody who calls you in, then what do? We've talked about
fucking
farm
apologize.
Repair. Yeah. Farm repair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
And that's it. And then it's over. I think most people who are not white, who will be on the receiving end of something like that, will, if it makes them uncomfortable, they will say something, but also not necessarily hold a grudge. Like, I think they will also appreciate the intent, and so I think
some of it's relationship, right?
Yeah,
too,
some
like
of it is
saying,
relationship, Yeah, like if it were me and you did something like that, like I'm not gonna take offense to that,
Yeah.
I might tell you to keep your money or donate it to someone else or give it to someone else or whatever. But also, like, I think it's just a risk you have to take. Nothing in this kind of work comes without a cost.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
You have to just swallow that cost.
When people share mutual aid requests and or just share ways that you can compensate them on a regular-ish basis. So as an example, Feminista Jones, who's somebody I learn from all the time on social media, will on occasion just share her, I don't know if it's Cash App or Venmo. I think it was Venmo, one of those. Anyway, it doesn't matter. She shares a way that, and just this reminder, hey, if you learn from me, here's a way you can send something to say thanks. There's no like, it needs to be this amount or I'll be offended. There's no, and I think even every once in a while, she'll even say something like that. Like, don't care how much, just like, if you want to honor the fact that I'm doing all this labor out here on these streets for you, like, here's a way to do it. And I love that because then I feel some invitation to do something. Also the reminder, because I'm going to be honest, sometimes I can't see past my own nose like most of us. We're so in our own shit that we aren't thinking about other people. And we forget that like, oh yeah, I am learning from you. And that is labor. And that does deserve compensation. And so I can do that. So recently she did a whole wonderful video all about one battle after another. And analyzing it. And I knew we were doing this podcast episode that we just did recently about it. And I wanted to feel more informed beyond my own take. So I watched her video and I sent her, I don't remember, $25 or something, and just said, thank you for that incredibly informative video. It was super helpful, right? It wasn't a lot of money, but it made me feel like, okay, she has provided me with an education that I'm also then going to use. And I did cite her when we talked about the story, talked about that in that episode. So, but that feels good to provide some compensation.
Yeah.
And so like, I think there's also that invitation, and this is a reminder of myself, because I think we often don't feel comfortable saying, if you felt like there was something here, if you want to, if you got something from this experience, if you're so inclined, you have the resources, here's an easy way to say thanks, to show some gratitude, like to compensate me for my labor. Because I think it can feel really, like, I know for me, it feels really uncomfortable to do that. Like I felt uncomfortable even after being asked to do it. But then after doing it and actually receiving from a few people, it's not like it was like, I think all told $30 or something.
Yeah, it's not going to make you rich.
But I was like, it made me, even though I would have and have done that exact work for free and will continue to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's just something about, like you said, I think it's that being seen. But then again, even just like you said, just her calling it out and her naming we see that this took labor.
Yeah.
That went so far. Like that warmed me. I was like, that's what you don't realize you need it until you get it.
Yeah. I think that's what at the core of who we are as human beings. Like we all want to be seen. We want our experiences to be validated, right? We want someone outside of ourselves to say, yeah, that was real. That happened. Like I saw that. And having people to do that when you least expect it, right? Because in situations like that, it's like, especially with so much of our lives being virtual now, it's like speaking into this big black hole and just engaging with space, like it doesn't
it
necessarily
does create some distance, doesn't it?
Yeah. There's this sense of detachment. And so having that human connection, those little moments are so important. And so even if you can't ever give people money, but if you notice something about someone online, and I think honestly, that's one of the reasons why I spend so much time in like my fandom community. Because people, how people make jokes about like drunk girls in the bathroom, like cheering each other on all the time. Like it is like that 24/7. Like people are just constantly in each other's DMs, just being like, oh my God, that was amazing. Or did you see that? Or, oh my gosh, that fic ruined me. Like, it's just a constant, just love fest of just people just recognizing each other 24/7. And there's so much validation that obviously there's some bullshit too. There's like some really super MAGA conservative people in fandom that will show up every now and again. And then we all just kind of collectively be like boo hiss. But in generally speaking, it's that human connection that is often so missing online. And so why would I leave that space?
Right? It's fantastic. It's funny how often it takes us being drunk in so many ways in our life. It's like
with your defenses lowered.
And the equivalent with men I often see with that is when they get drunk, they start, I love you, man. I love you, man. Right? Like they finally have that permission to actually say, like the tenderness that they don't always feel they're allowed to have with their male friends. So it's so interesting. And with women, it's like this exaggerated, like how amazing you are, because I think we're so conditioned into being competitive and individualistic and all that. This all makes me think too, I never gave you the update about yesterday. I had a call with a support husband, and we were both like, what is that going to be? And you're like, are you going to be okay? Like, is this safe?
Do you feel safe? Like, yeah, I know it's virtual, but still.
It's online. It was a coffee chat, which rarely get booked unless I give someone. I mean, they're there for people. You can go if you'd like, BeckyMollenkamp.com/call, and there's a place where you can book a coffee chat with me. But people rarely do that unless I share the link or I know them and we've said like, hey, let's have a coffee chat. So this was a complete stranger and a man, which is unusual in my world. I don't usually meet with a lot of men. I do have a few male clients, so I'm not opposed to it, but it's not something that happens a lot. And then the like little form, he mentioned he was a support husband, and I was like, supportive? No, but support husband. I was like, I don't know what this means, right? So we were both kind of intrigued. What's the call going to be? And I don't want to give away a lot of personal details because I do believe he and his wife might listen to this podcast. And if you do, hi, and I'm not going to say your names and I'm not going to give specifics that'll give you away. But I do want to mention a little bit about the experience because it ended up being beautiful. So I'll just lead there. It was a wonderful experience. We actually went a little long on the call. It was supposed to be like 25 minutes. I think we went 40 because I really wanted to give him time because it turns out, first of all, white guy, cishet, married to a woman. He walks, the first thing on the call was, first, before we start, I just want to check my privilege. And he named all of his privileges. And I was like, wait, I'm sorry, what's happening here? A white cishet man who's showing up and first off, without any prompting, acknowledging the privileges. I was like, this is amazing. Like, it was so refreshing because it's not an experience, honestly, that I think I've ever had. I don't know that I can ever name an experience where I've had a white cishet man show up unprompted and want to acknowledge his privilege. I was like, okay, this is exciting. Like I'm all in. I don't care what's happening on this call. This is refreshing. And then tells me a little bit about himself and that ultimately what's happening is his wife is an author. She's writing a romance book. It's being published by a traditional publisher, and wanting to figure out how can he support her as she's feeling all this anxiety about her book coming out soon.
Mm.
And wanting it to be as good as it can be, but also like, it's a lot, and feeling
Yeah.
all of the work and all of that, and just sort of like, what are things I might be overlooking? What could I be doing? This book kind of has this feminist feeling to it, and I know you're a feminist and she likes you. And so I just wanted to reach out and talk to you. I was like, okay, so you're reaching out just because you want to support your wife. And I was like, how much does she know? And he's like, well, she knows, like he kept talking about consent. She's consented to me doing this. She's consented to me doing this. I haven't received her consent for this, so I can't say yes or no to that. Like, it was just very interesting. Like, I think she had given him consent to reach out to certain people or certain kinds of people and have certain kinds of conversations, request certain kinds of help, and then other things hadn't, and he would have to run that by her. And we had a lovely conversation where we talked about, sort of brainstorm some ideas around things that might be good, might not be good, ways that he might be able to support her. I mean, he's not in the publishing industry. The man's like a nurse and like has no, like, this is all like, just doing because he wants to, like, and the way this man was pumping up his wife. Do I think this book is going to be a bestseller? Hell yeah. Do I think this book has the potential to be like the greatest thing ever? Like, hell yeah. Like, he is pumped for this woman.
He's a support husband.
He is. He's like, it's a title I gave myself. I'm like, well, you've earned it, sir, because you are a support husband. So anyway, if any straight cishet men listen to this, like, he's doing it. There are, the number
that's part of the
men,
model. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know who you are. I don't know where you got this from, but you are. And I don't know if it's, she helped him get there. I have no idea, but I was just like, you are amazing. And he was like, and I'm a feminist. And he's like, but then, like, he even knew, like, I don't know if I can give myself that title, but like, well, we need more of you. So this is great. So all that to share, like, it was a really wonderful experience. And there are also, like, our partners are out there. The potential, like, it was just that reminder that that's right. Partnership can and should look like that, where your partner is your biggest fan. They are pumping you up. They are out there figuring out how to do what they can for you and all of that. And we don't have to excuse men or give them these passes of like, oh, well, they never learned how, blah, blah, blah. He's living proof that you can figure it out.
It can happen.
If you want to, you can.
If he wanted to, he would. If he wanted to, he would.
This guy did, so y'all can. Anyway, it was and it was just such a nice experience for me, which is what I kept telling him, because he's like, I want to honor your time. Like, and I was like, we can go. I have a little more time, and I'm like, this is whenever I get to have an interaction with a man like that, and I do have, again, never anybody who like named the privilege right away, but I've had interactions with men who do get it and who are really trying and who are really showing up in a great way. And I savor those moments with cishet men like that, because it's so rare for me that when I have them, it really feeds, like, it feels healing, because I've had so many, I think all of us, I don't know a woman or a non-cishet male who has not had innumerable interactions with cishet men that are horrible. Like, we just can name them, so many.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that healing moment of like, that's right. There are some really good cishet men out there, and it's possible. So also, I don't have to listen to their bullshit where it's not, because it is.
Yeah. Mello had a different experience yesterday with a man, and it wasn't even personal. Like, she was just like watching House Hunters, and she was like, I had to shut it off because I was getting triggered. But it was like this family, they were moving to Spain, and the wife is like a therapist. And if you know anything about Europe, housing in general, like, is smaller than in the US. Like, the bedrooms are smaller, the bathrooms are smaller. In general, the spaces are just smaller. They don't have a lot of open concepts. And if you want something with more than like 2 bedrooms, it's going to be super expensive. And so they had 2 little boys, moving to Spain. And she's a therapist. So she was like, we need a 3rd bedroom so I can have privacy when I talk to my clients. And the husband kept insisting that didn't line up with what his vision for what their life in Spain looked like, and that she could work from the kitchen table.
With her clients.
With them home? 2 small children. And of course she gave in. Like, every time we watch House Hunters International, especially the international one, we're always like, how long before she gives in to her husband or her partner or whatever, and to what he wants? And it's like 98% of the time the woman gives in. And of course she gave in and was like, I'll work from the kitchen table, whatever. Yeah.
I'll make it work.
Yeah. And so it's just like so fucking selfish. So like, just, and obviously, look, I get it. That's fucking House Hunters International. We don't know those people. Some of that could have been scripted, like reality TV is not real.
Yeah,
And
but who
so,
wants to show up that way as the woman in the script? I'd be like, no thanks.
yeah, exactly. But also the reality is that like shit like that does happen. Like it does happen.
Yeah.
It triggered her because she's encountered men like that before who have been so incredibly selfish that someone else's needs are completely disregarded. Right. So
Well,
it's
again,
just,
if Renee Good, and that is just a recent example, and I know she's a white woman, but it is a recent example that sits so firmly in my mind because of the piece of that encounter. Obviously, her being murdered is a big part of the encounter that I honor, but the piece of that I think that just struck so many women and like we felt it in our bones was after he kills her, he says "fucking bitch," and I just think that is that kind of man that's just like there is contempt, there is hatred. There is like, do what I say, and if you don't, I hate you. And it makes me think of that man of like, just the presumption that you will do what obviously you're gonna give in to me. Maybe we're kind of a little back and forth, and maybe I even find that kind of sexy or fun, right? Like that bullshit happens, but you will ultimately give in to me. And if you don't, fucking bitch, right? Like that. I just think we all on a day-to-day we encounter those people either personally and explicitly, but I also think as women and non-binary folks, we feel it. Like every interaction with men until you have any proof otherwise. And boy, it takes a lot of proof to actually feel real proof. I don't know that cishet men understand.
And that proof can be disregarded at any moment.
Absolutely. And I don't think cishet men really understand that every interaction they're having with almost every woman and non-binary person, that is what we're feeling in our bones. Are you really just thinking, fucking bitch?
Regardless of the relationship. Like you could know someone for 15 years and still feel that and still be like, is this the moment when the rug gets pulled out from under me?
Because we've had that, we know it, we feel it, we've seen it, we've encountered it from our earliest days until we die. It is always there. And whether it is spoken or not, we are waiting for it. So whether you're the guy at the pump next to me at the gas station, or you're my partner of, like you said, for 15 years, there's always some little piece of you that is sitting there going like, is that what's really happening? Is there underlying in there? Is this going to be the moment you finally let it out? Fucking bitch. Right? Like, I know it's like, you just feel it. Like it's sitting in there. You have access to it. And I know that you similarly, I'm sure, as a Black person, feel the same thing about white people.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I was like, it's women to men, it's Black women to white women, it's Black people to white people, it's non-binary people to, male, female gendered people, like anytime. And it's not about trust, right? It's not about the trust in the relationship. It's like you said, it's always there because it's the air that we breathe. Like it's something that we all have to contend with every single day. And so because we have to contend with it every single day, it's a fight every single day to not give in to that temptation to be like fucking bitch or fucking, a slur or, whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
So like I have to catch myself sometimes and be like, why am I thinking that? Oh, because I've seen too much fucking TV and I've heard too many actors say that shit. Or, I've read too many things where someone said
I heard it growing up.
I've heard it growing up. And I have to be like, no, that's not how you respond to people. Like you can be angry, but you can't call someone a slur.
And the scariest thing is when people can't. Again, that's where that like checking that privilege when you walk in the room. It's when it's unacknowledged, it's I don't see color people, or I've never said a slur in my life, or I would never think such a thing, or I would never, these people, that kind of the inability to confront and check in yourself that it exists. You may not like it.
Yeah.
You may be repulsed by it, but it's in all of us.
Yes.
Right? Whatever your privilege is, you have that shit in you. And if you aren't able to acknowledge that and to check that privilege, to acknowledge that, I am racist. I may not act racist. I may not do anything intentionally racist, but I know I am, as a white-bodied person in America, like racism exists inside me. It's in there. It's lurking, right? And I have to be watching for it all the time. And to pretend that I don't it's disingenuous. And that's the thing that creates the real threat to someone else, right?
Yeah.
For me, a man who can acknowledge, I've thought some bad shit about women before, right? And like, I'm working on that constantly. And that is not who I want to be. It's not how I want to show up. I do everything I can. I would rather that than the man who says, I would never hurt a woman.
I would
I've
never do that. I would never say it. Yeah, that's
never
dishonest.
You're scary.
Honest.
That guy is the scary guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why checking your privilege when you walk into a space, when you're able to acknowledge and be like, okay, in this space, where do I have privilege? That's the first step to preventing that from happening, to preventing you from being like fucking bitch when you don't get your way, or fucking, trans slur when
whatever
someone
your
has an attitude with you. Yeah, whatever your stereotypes
whether
are.
it's a slur or a stereotype or whatever.
Like you have to start there. You have to start by acknowledging where your privilege lies.
Which is such a great reminder because I don't always do that myself.
Me either.
And I think often it's because if you have your own marginalized identities, it's easy that we hold on to those and think like I enter the space thinking about my marginalization often and not honoring that there's also this privilege in the room with me. Yeah. And like just thinking about that call yesterday where I had there was 30 or 40 beautiful souls on this call that were and it was such a diverse room. We had men, we had women, we had non-binary folks, we had Black folks, white folks, Asian folks, Hispanic folks, we had older people, we had younger people, it was just a beautifully diverse room. And it would have taken me nothing to, because I was setting the container and, taking a moment, have everybody grounding themselves in the fact that this same group of people will never be in a room just in the same way. It would have been so easy for me then to honor, I want to honor, also acknowledge the privileges I'm bringing into the space and ask others to do the same. Because if we're all thinking it as we're going in, how does that change the dynamic and create more spaciousness for us all to feel just a little more free that everyone here has taken that moment to think about what privileges they're bringing in the room. And so it's a great reminder for me for the next call, and I'm going to make a note of it so that I do it because it takes no time, right, Taina? It takes no time for us to do that. Yeah. And it makes having been now on the receiving end of that with this white cishet man in the room and knowing what that did to my nervous system, why wouldn't I want to give that same gift to other spaces I'm in? Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call. Good call.
So, thank you because it's easy for me to be like, oh, I love when he did it and not be like, but then at the same time,
not map it onto yourself. Yeah.
Which we do, don't we? I mean, we do that all the time.
Yeah, it's very easy to do that.
In the same way, going back to the beginning of this with the mutual aid, in the same way, it's real easy for me to be like, God, it felt really great when they acknowledged my labor and how, I am doing that, but I could do it a whole lot more. I could be acknowledging other people's labor. Again, it doesn't have to look like money every time. Just like you said, just be saying, I see you. Yeah. I see what you're doing. Yeah. So I'm going to end the call, Taina, by saying, I see you because you are doing amazing labor. We do the coaches circle together and you are so great. You're the one who shows up at our calls with the agenda that you've got ready to go and making sure that the notes are being taken well because details are not my favorite thing. And you do such a great job.
They're not mine either, but.
Well, but you do it well. That makes it even better that you're showing up and doing that. So, thank you for that, and acknowledging that I know you've had a flare up, and I know you have some anxiety around doctor's appointments. You have that coming up, and here you are showing up to do this call and have a great conversation and give yourself to this experience. So, thank you. I appreciate you and your labor.
Thank you. I appreciate your labor too. You've had your husband and your kid at home for the past 2 days, and I know that's. Well, necessary in some ways, also disruptive. So
for me, they love it. I'm like,
I mean, what kids didn't like staying home from school?
Yeah. Then I get the next thing that happens is my guilt for being
stop you guys deflecting. You're deflecting.
I am because I don't want you to do that because I don't know. It's fine. Thank you. How about that? Thank you. All right. Well, we didn't know what we were going to do. We were fully flying by the seat of our pants more than usual. And I think it was a really great conversation.
I think so
too. I don't know why it wouldn't. Why did I think it wouldn't be? This is why we started the podcast. Why I reached out in the first place. I was like, I just want to have more conversations with you. Talking again about that, where do you put, I don't have a bucket to put you in. I'm like, I need a bucket to put Taina in so I can see you again.
Let's just start a podcast then.
Yeah. I realize I can't have a podcast with every person I meet. That's awesome, though. So that's why I'm like, I got to find other ways that I can have conversations with multiple people. But of course, we were going to have a good conversation. So have a have a safe and hopefully not too triggering a doctor's appointment and care for yourself today.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to Messy Liberation.
Thank you so much for your support and for listening today.
Until next time.